Hello. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment about what story you want next. Now, let's begin. In the town of Derry, fear does not announce itself. It seeps into the cracks of everyday life, hiding beneath smiles, beneath silence, beneath streets that seem ordinary to anyone who does not look too closely. For as long as anyone could remember, people in Derry had learned not to ask questions. Children disappeared, tragedies happened, and then life simply moved on. One rainy afternoon in 1988, a small paper boat floated through the flooded streets of Derry. Georgie Denbrough chased it happily, unaware that this simple moment would mark the beginning of another cycle of terror. When the boat slipped into a storm drain, Georgie followed it, kneeling down and peering into the darkness. A voice spoke to him, soft, playful, and deeply unsettling. A clown appeared, smiling too widely, eyes filled with something ancient. Pennywise did not rush. He spoke kindly. He waited. And when Georgie finally understood the danger, it was already too late. The rain washed the streets clean, and Derry pretended nothing had happened. Georgie's brother, Bill, refused to forget. Guilt followed him everywhere, growing heavier with each day. As summer arrived, Bill found himself surrounded by other children who felt just as invisible as he did. Ben, new to town and constantly bullied, buried himself in history books. Beverly, living in fear inside her own home, learned how to hide pain behind confidence. Eddie, controlled by his mother's endless warnings, believed the world itself was trying to kill him. Richie, loud and reckless, used humor to mask terror. Stan, desperate for structure, clung to rules to keep his sanity. Mike, quiet and observant, carried the weight of Derry's past through stories passed down in his family. Together, they began to notice patterns others ignored. The town felt wrong. The adults seemed blind, and something was watching them. Each of them encountered the clown alone, though it never looked the same twice. To some, it appeared as disease and decay. To others, as blood, corpses, or distorted memories. Pennywise knew their names. It knew their secrets. It didn't just scare them, it understood them. Fear, they realized, was not a side effect. It was the purpose. As Mike dug deeper into the town's history, the truth became impossible to ignore. Fires, explosions, massacres, disappearances. Every horror in Derry followed the same rhythm. Every 27 years, the same evil returned, feeding and then fading away. Pennywise was not human. It was older than the town, older than memory itself. The children understood something terrifying. No one was coming to save them. The adults couldn't see the monster, or maybe they chose not to. If this thing was going to be stopped, it would have to be them. They descended into the sewers beneath Derry, where the air was thick with rot and echoes of forgotten screams. There, Pennywise shed its playful mask, revealing a form that defied understanding. Something violent, hungry, and cruel. Terror threatened to tear them apart, but together they stood their ground. Not because they were fearless, but because fear was no longer enough to control them. Their belief in each other weakened the creature, and for the first time, it retreated, wounded, but not destroyed. Before leaving the darkness below the town, they made a promise. If the monster ever returned, so would they. Then time moved on, and memory faded, as it always does. Childhood ended. The promise slipped away. 27 years passed before the cycle began again. Children started disappearing, and Mike, the only one who stayed behind, remembered everything. One by one, he called the others back to Derry. Their lives had taken them far away, but the past was not finished with them. Returning to Derry reopened old wounds. The town felt smaller, yet the fear felt stronger. Pennywise had grown more patient, more cruel. This time, it did not rely only on childhood nightmares. It used regret, failure, shame, and loss. It reminded them of everything they had run from. They returned to the sewers once more, older and worn down, carrying memories they had tried to bury. There they finally understood the truth Pennywise never wanted them to know. The creature was not a god. It was a parasite. It existed only because they believed in its power. As they confronted it together, they spoke without fear. They refused to see it as something unstoppable. With every word, the monster shrank, stripped of the myth that had protected it for centuries. What once fed on terror was now terrified itself. And in that moment, the cycle that had haunted Derry for generations finally broke, not through strength, not through violence, but through unity and the refusal to be afraid.